Anatomy Trains is delighted to announce a brand new dissection livestream specialty class on September 18th, Lumbopelvic Stability, a one-day layered dissection with Anatomy Trains author Tom Myers and master dissector Todd Garcia. The early bird price of $150 is held until September 10th. After September 10th, the price is $250. Come see the body's actual core for yourself. This course will be provided over Zoom webinar with multiple camera views, live chat, and Q&A. Visit anatomytrains.com to sign up.
This episode is brought to you by the Massage Mentor Institute. Diane Metkowski, also known as the Massage Mentor, and Allison Denney, also known as Rebel Massage, have teamed up to bring you the Massage Mentor Institute. MMI is a collection of teachings and education opportunities from industry leaders around the world, because your continuing education experience should be whatever you want it to be. They are building community one body part at a time, and they want you to be a part of it. Head over to themassagementorinstitute.com today to see more, learn more, and do more.
If you're listening to this podcast, chances are you have gone to and graduated from a massage therapy school. But chances are also that you haven't actually opened your own massage school. Aubrey Gowing and Alison Kavanagh, the brother and sister team from Dublin, Ireland, have done just that.
My name is Allison Kavanagh. I'm College Director at Holistic College Dublin. I also have a holistic and sports therapy clinic that I still practice in and see clients in on a regular basis.
And I'm Aubrey Gowing. Despite the different surnames, myself and Alison are brother and sister. So this has been a lifelong endeavor for us, where we started really towards the end of the 80s in terms of formal training, then went on to set up our school. Currently, we are both college directors at Holistic College Dublin. That's our business based here in Ireland. But we teach internationally. We've been doing a lot of virtual events and things over the last couple of years. Fortunately, I think we were a little ahead of COVID, so we were pretty well prepared, and that stuff went really well for us. We had some really great experiences over that period of time. And we're just still as passionate now after 30 plus years in the business about therapy as we were when we started. Hopefully better informed, but certainly as passionate as we were from the start.
When most of us talk about how we felt at the start, we might be talking about when we decided to go to massage school or when we graduated and began practicing. For Aubrey and Alison, though, the start came a lot earlier than that. And I would argue it was a lot earlier than most of us could claim.
Well, I guess it came from our parents. Our mom and dad had an interest in the holistic approach in nutrition, diet, yoga, healing practices. So from small kids, we were taught yoga exercises, breathing exercises, information on healthy eating. Mom was a massage therapist and she used to practice some techniques on us. And it was kind of a natural progression when we finished high school to work in the family business.
And this really started from a very young age. I mean, our mom and dad started off going to their first yoga class when my mom was expecting me. So I do sometimes say in class, just joking, I started this before I was born, that my mom was practicing yoga while I was still in utero. But from the time we were small kids, dad was studying to be a yoga teacher. And he used to line the kids up in the evening and he'd get us all doing yoga postures, meditation, breathing exercises. So a lot of the lifestyle stuff that has grown enormously in popularity as people's awareness has increased over the last few decades, we were reared with literally from the time we were, pre-teen. We were small kids. I think I was probably about 4, you were probably about 6. Yeah. We started off learning yoga. So this has been a part of our life always.
So their mom was a massage therapist and their dad was a yoga instructor. I wanted to know what it was like to grow up in that family.
So we're a pretty big family. There are 5 boys and 2 girls in the family. Back then, I think there was really just 5 of us. There's a little bit of a gap, and then there's the last 2. So back then, there would have been 5 of us, ranging from about 4 years old to about 10 years old. And we would all be practicing our yoga postures and different kind of meditation techniques and things like that. And it's stuff that I think has stood with us throughout our lives, that now, even to this day, we have a daily practice of meditation that we'll do. even a couple of the family members will get together and we will do meditation on a Sunday evening, that it's something that has really stayed with us well into our adult years. And I think has given us a very solid foundation in kind of an understanding of the broader concepts. I think sometimes when people come to just massage, it takes them a while to kind of filter out into the broader world and go, you know what, really for people to have a optimal kind of health, they need to look at more than just manual therapy. It's a really big, I think it's a starting point, because a lot of people are kind of stuck, and sometimes getting some treatment frees them up a little bit, and then they start to get interested in moving more and then maybe get into a particular sport. But we were lucky to come from that broad perspective from the very start.
So many of us veer away from how we were raised and want to explore something new for ourselves. Allison and Aubrey, though, had some amazing tidbits that they took from their childhood and still use to this day.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting is a lot of the principles that our dad taught us are as relevant today. When we hear about things like mindfulness and, different practices, he always went through like the answer to good health, and he'd write down the letters of the answer. So A was get fresh air, get out in nature. N was nutrition. S was get adequate sleep. W was get some, good intake of water. E was regular exercise, and R was relaxation. So he was like, those are the cornerstones of good health. So a lot of the mindfulness stuff that he taught us back then, to be present, to live in the moment, to give 100% to what you're doing, and to, really be still and listen to your inner guidance, your intuition. That has really stuck with us and enhanced our practice. And even the passion and enthusiasm that we bring to our students are born out of those key principles.
Long before even the term mindfulness was coined.
So Allison and Aubrey may have been practicing mindfulness while you and I were watching cartoons, but they had to go to massage school at some point. I asked them if they could tell me how that began for them.
I graduated in 88.
I was 89. It was a year after.
Yeah. So I'm 33 years, you're 32.
Yeah.
And then the following year, I started as a teaching assistant. And then within about 5 years, I was leading courses on my own, as in, designing the program and making sure all of the syllabus was covered, timetabling the class, giving the student their schedule, that they knew what was coming up in each class for both theory and practical elements, booking exams with the awarding body, all aspects of training. We kind of probably make it look easy because we've been doing it so long, we could do it in our sleep, but there's a lot of attention to detail to get the whole student experience as best it can be, up to an optimal level that it's kind of flawless.
Teaching something can bring you to a deeper level of understanding of that subject. But there also has to be a basic desire to dive in and a basic love for the content. Allison and Aubrey clearly have this in droves.
Yeah, I think one of the things I've always been really passionate about is trying to distill information, trying to get it across in as concise a way as possible. And this is where we'd say we really do live, eat, sleep, breathe the work that we do in all aspects, both the mindfulness, the wellness side of things, the individual therapy, the techniques, that you have these concepts mulling around in your head all the time. So there might be something in particular that will occur to me, and I'll be in the shower and I'll be thinking through, oh, that's not the best way to say that. And I'll literally be repeating things a couple of times in my head and refining. Like the way if you're going to write an important email or something, you write initially what you want to say. Then you go back and you restructure it. Then you maybe change some of the words, or you move the paragraphs around until you have it as concise as it can be, that it as accurately conveys what you intend as possible. And that's something that we work on without thinking about it, without effort. It's literally just so absorbing, so engaging, that you're constantly thinking about some element of the business, whether it's planning events, thinking about a technique, describing a process, a physiological action. It's something that we do all of the time. And I think that that's one of the things that students find they oftentimes get from taking our classes, that they say, I've heard a lot of these pieces of information before, but I've never been able to actually connect the dots or draw them together. And from your explanation, I've connected things that I already knew, but in a way that I didn't imagine possible. That has really helped me achieve a deeper understanding.
Allison agrees and again attributes their persistence to their childhood and the perspective of their father.
We're probably slightly obsessive in that we think about this 24/7. So we're not recommending that you have to do it to that extent, but it's nearly like a mindset, like being small kids sitting in the car and observing people's walks. Dad would say, is that a hip problem, a knee problem, an ankle problem? We'd all sit there and analyze and each one give their opinion. So we were just taught to observe what's going on around you, pay attention, and be present. So you had that kind of philosophy of, well, you drop into your heart, you get into the stillness, you feel for what's going on, and then feel what expands you and what contracts you. So when we're talking about stuff, it's we feed off each other and we feel an idea open out and expand. Sometimes when we do like some of the heavier, what we call conscious minded stuff, the practicalities, we'll only do it for a certain window of time because you just feel that you're contracting, energy starting to drain, the life's going out of it. So we're trying to keep that balance between what expands you and what contracts you, and hopefully we get it pretty even.
That well-balanced yin and yang energy of this brother and sister duo also plays out really well in the classrooms where they teach.
I guess I go more on the feeling base of, well, what lights me up. I think I work very intuitively. Aubrey has a really good mixture of the cognitive reasoning type approach. And then I kind of go, yeah, that feels right. And we complement each other in our approaches in that we come from quite different perspectives. I'll tend to kind of go around things to explore all possibilities. And Aubrey's like, well, if we go from here to here to here to here, we end up at the same spot, but we have quite different ways of getting there. And the students have often said, we love when you're both teaching our class because I'll really take care of them, probably do far too much for them, but simplify it in terms of, look, this is the bit you really need to know. This is what you need to know for your exams. This is how you progress through your learning. Whereas Aubrey's like really focused on the techniques and making them excellent therapists. So they get the caring, nurturing aspect, and then they get the mechanical rationale and reasoning from Aubrey. So they get really well-rounded education when they train with us.
All of this, of course, made me want to fly to Ireland and take their classes, which made me wonder, what is it like to be a massage therapist in Ireland, and what is their experience with working with massage therapists in other countries? And beyond that, how have they seen this profession change and grow in their 30-plus years in the field?
Well, I suppose despite having been based in Ireland and worked in Ireland all our professional lives, we've always felt a really strong connection to the US because our folks lived in New York for a while, and two of our oldest siblings were born in the US. They then, in their very late teens, early adulthood, they moved to California and lived there for a few years, and we all went over and back and stuff. So there was always a sense of a strong connection. We had an uncle living in the US as well, another one living in South America. So there was always family ties to the US. To the Americas in general. So we've always felt a strong affinity to that. And I think it's been very interesting having gone more into international training in different continents. I mean, we've taught in Australia and Asia, as well as the US and across Europe. And you see the commonality that there's a lot of the same kind of issues that therapists face, that schools face, that the industry faces. And it's similar in different parts of the world. Terminology is sometimes different. We tend to talk about relaxation therapies. I think in the US, the term spa massage would be more common. So terminology might vary, but practices, not so much. They're fairly similar. In terms of the practice of therapy here in Ireland, it's changed an awful lot over the time that we've been involved. That initially, school friends would have said to me when I started training as a massage therapist, they're like, "You're going to be a what? I knew you like that yoga stuff, but, this is too far. What are you doing?" And you're going to have to touch guys as well as girls. There was odd stuff that people had in their heads. And I think pretty much coming from the yoga kind of perspective as well. I mean, there was a whole, a suspicion around it here in Ireland. A lot of people, there was, people thought it was a cult. They thought it was all kinds of daft, far out sort of stuff. And it's amazing how mainstream that became and how therapy has gone the same way as well, that even the health insurers and things that would have stayed away from complementary therapies are now encouraging people as part of their health insurance, that they're getting much more of a sense of the importance of preventative healthcare and how not only is it better for people to try and prevent the necessity of getting medical intervention, which is a necessity in some cases, they see that it's also more cost effective. So it's better in quality of life and it's better for the bottom line. So it's interesting to see how that perspective shift has taken place over those 30 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I think starting off as massage therapy, it was kind of seen as, oh yeah, if you want to pamper yourself, get a massage. Whereas I think as more of the remedial and preventative side came to the fore, and the development in the understanding of the importance of touch and nurturing care for reducing stress and anxiety, that became huge. But seeing the fact that you could influence restrictive conditions, work down through the different layers of tissues, get the full range of movement back in joints, take pressure off nerve endings, and really improve people's quality of life. I think as the research to support that, the evidence-based massage has really taken off, and we're seeing it in our practices in our clinic that it's making a huge difference to quality of life. And that is kind of paralleled with where if people have private health insurance, that they can now claim back for, depending on their policy, maybe 6 treatments a year. So we've clients that come every 2 months for their maintenance, and they can get a receipt and they get their money back for their treatment. So it's kind of the acknowledgement that this is a viable, reliable therapy, instead of just medicating for everything, that the two can work in hand, that it's not just an alternative or complementary. It can be very much mainstream healthcare.
Even if you're born into the world of holistic health and you have a sibling who lives, eats, and breathes it as much as you do, and you've gotten to travel the world and see how the field of bodywork and massage is growing and expanding on many different levels, it is still no small feat to open a school of your own.
Well, the training aspect of our business was really in place before we started actual formal training. Because again, we were always involved in the business, different aspects as kids. Even when we were in school, you'd be helping out with, painting jobs around the place or advertising, that we were always involved in the business. And the training part of the business was there really from the start. The 3 elements of the business was training in massage, yoga classes, nutrition, and massage therapy. So 4 strands, I guess, to the business. And that was for us then a very easy transition to go from being a clinician to being an instructor. That I think for a lot of people, if I was giving advice to somebody who's thinking in those directions, I would first of all say, see if you can get work for somebody else, because I think it's a really important middle step to be a junior instructor, an assist in some capacity, that you get to ease into the position, you get some experience. That the way we work when we're training in a therapist, we will get somebody who is a graduate of our own training, so they're familiar with the work we're doing, the style we practice, and so on. They will really observe for their first few sessions. Then they'll assist going around the room and helping to guide the students through the learning process. And towards the end of an academic year, then they will start to deliver some of the practical sessions. So it's kind of a very much a step-by-step process. You're guided through it. And then on successful completion of that, then they may be given a classroom to run for a couple of sessions. And even with our experienced instructors, that we will still go back into the room with them and we will act as the assist, and we'll do a feedback session. That you're always doing a lessons learned. How do you progress? How are you going to continue to grow and develop as a teacher? So that's something that is a program that we've developed over the years. And I would suggest people seek out or try to create an environment in which they can replicate that to some degree. That if you can get experience as an assist, gradually get into teaching for yourself, it's a much easier route. If you do go on to set up your own school, you really got to look into who are the awarding bodies, how is it regulated, can you meet those regulations, can you become an approved provider? So you do need to get a lot more into the structure of the massage industry. It's not just about, I'll start a class, I'll advertise, and I'll see how many people I get. That there's a lot of work to be done in that process. And I don't mean that as a negative, because like, as I said, it is a really good learning experience, but don't underestimate how much work is involved, but don't underestimate your ability to meet those demands.
What we found was a lot of the things we were already doing, we had implemented from just our organic, what's the best way to do this? And we just had to go through their list and go, oh, that's what they call that. Okay, yeah, we're already doing that. We always have, our protocols for how we do everything. So it was just matching it up to what the requirement was. So it was very reassuring when they came in to assess our school. They were like, you guys are really on top of this. You're doing everything. And even the retention rate of students, that like 99% of our students that start a course complete it. They're kind of extraordinary completion rates. And we were like, well, for some reason, unexpected circumstances or injury, if a student doesn't get to finish their course, we take them back on a future course so that we do everything possible that they achieve their award, their qualifications, so they can be a successful therapist. So I would say, in fact, it's probably 100% completion rate in most cases.
None of that is easy on your own. And oftentimes working with somebody else can be even trickier, much less a sibling. I wanted to hear a little bit more about how Allison and Aubrey continue to manage all the moving parts of their business and work so closely with each other.
I think it's easy in a lot of ways because we've grown up with the business side of what we do as being such a part of our family life that it never seemed like there was a clear divide. So there was no friction between personal relationships and professional relationships, that we spend a lot of our off time talking about therapy, sometimes to the point that, the rest of the family is telling us to stop because we just keep going on and on, next. So it has never created a friction. If anything, for us, I think it's the opposite. It's quite easy because you know and understand each other very well. You get where the other person is coming from very, very quickly. And we always have had, an equally respectful attitude towards the other's opinion, that it's never, you're wrong and I'm right, that we never take that very strong stance. It's always, I think this, what do you think? Let's see if we can find an ultimate truth to this, a basis, a common ground, something that is objectively observable that we can say, well, that is definitely that. So now we know what that is and we can move forward. So there's never really any friction. We never have any challenges. And I think because we're both really interested in the same thing, but again, from slightly different aspects, because, each of us does bring our own unique characteristics, strengths, and so on to what we do. As Alison has said before, she's much more, I think, drawn to the intuitive, nurturing, relaxation type therapies while still having a real passion for corrective work. I tend to be very mechanical, figure it out, but still will have an intuitive side that you go, well, I can make the step to connect to that. So even though we have, it's almost like two pieces of the jigsaw puzzle, you're different shapes, but you click together well. So I think that there isn't any friction as a result.
It seems Aubrey and Alison have figured out what works well, and most importantly, what works well for them. I was curious to hear what advice they might have for themselves as new therapists in the field.
Well, I suppose in terms of therapists getting busy in clinic and feeling that they have a secure business, I really think that it is just time and passion. Practice on as many people as you can. Oftentimes, even just doing some sample treatments. You got to be careful not to get into too many freebies, but if you can go to local people in the area, this is where I think corrective work has kind of an advantage. We tend to use the label sports massage here a lot in Ireland for corrective work because it's just the accepted term. But if you go to local clubs, if you work on the local trainer, we had a student recently who was in a running club. She decided she would do massage. The head coach said, can you just do a treatment? I've had treatment over the years. I just want to see what you're doing. And the coach was blown away with the treatment she did and said, I want you to treat everybody in this club. Now, she was still just at the stage of doing her case studies or her soap notes. She hadn't even taken her exam yet. And for her, the confidence boost that gave her was enormous. So working with people that maybe haven't had treatment before, people that are in the area that might help build your client base, reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out to people. But I think for developing on past that, beyond the person just starting out in their career, I would say just remember to stay humble. You never know it all. Usually around year 5, 6, 7, you kind of think, I'm an expert at this. And then you go and study something new and it opens your eyes and you realize there's a whole nother chapter. There's a bigger world out there. That it's certainly a trap that I have to be careful of falling into. It's happened to me from time to time where you kind of think, I think I've pretty much mastered this. And Alison would go, yeah, let's go and do this seminar though. And I'll go, oh, okay. Oh, that's different. Okay. I've had that experience and it has really taught me to be humble, and in a very genuine way, like recognize your strengths and your skills, but you're never going to know it all, and be comfortable with that. Say that's okay. There's always going to be, I always look at that as a motivating factor. That the fact that you'll never know it all means there's always stuff to interest you. There's always more you can learn. You're never going to get bored. There's no reason to get fatigued. You can reinvigorate yourself just by learning new stuff. So I see that as a real positive, that you're never going to know it all, because if you did, it's going to get dull after that. So keep studying. The other thing I would say is we tend to focus a lot on corrective manual therapy, but some people are by nature, they have that very kind of caring, compassionate, nurturing kind of attitude. And they're really well suited to relaxation therapies and do phenomenal treatment. So I think my advice would be follow the things that interest you. Look at the kind of cases that you're coming up against in clinic, either the challenging cases that might decide you are going to go more that corrective route, or actually I really like doing these gentle relaxation treatments, and continue to study in that direction. Because I really think learning is what keeps you motivated and passionate. It's certainly what's worked for us over the last 30 plus years.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that. Be passionate, be open to feedback, and keep on learning. You'll be drawn in different directions at different times as you progress through your learning. As you get more experience, something will light you up and kind of go, oh, I'm going to follow this direction now. So just keep exploring and keep listening.
Aubrey and Alison's immersive life into the world of bodywork and massage therapy has proven to be a path with boundless opportunities and rewards for them both. As the voice of their father continues to sound, and their ability to listen to when they need to expand or when it is time to contract remains clear, they will go on to create opportunities and awareness for all of those who follow in their footsteps.
Members are loving ABMP 5-Minute Muscles and ABMP Pocket Pathology, 2 quick reference web apps included with ABMP membership. ABMP 5-Minute Muscles delivers muscle-specific palpation and technique videos, plus origins, insertions, and actions for the 83 muscles most commonly addressed by bodyworkers. ABMP Pocket Pathology, created in conjunction with Ruth Werner, puts key information for nearly 200 common pathologies at your fingertips and provides the knowledge you need to help you make informed treatment decisions. Start learning today. ABMP members log in at abmp.com and look for the links in the featured benefits section of your member homepage. Not a member? Learn about these exciting member benefits at abmp.com/more.